We're showing 7 o'clock here at the clock at the Sioux Council office. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening for Internet Rechartering Process Training. I'm Roger Hoyme. I'm the Council Commissioner. With me tonight is Steve Schemp, who's the Red Rock District Commissioner, and Mike O'Connor, Sioux Council Field Director. And we will be going through, Steve and Mike will be going through the recharter process and the changes to the process. You will find that we have tried to streamline it this year, try to put more things online and less paper flowing through the council office, and to make the process easier to understand. And I hope that when you get to the end of the presentation this evening, that you'll feel the same way. One thing that I would like to stress is that this year, 80% of our registered adults youth protection training will be expiring. It is a requirement that every registered adult have current youth protection training. When you take the training, and it's completely online, I just took it myself again 2 weeks ago. It's good for 2 years, and it is excellent training. It is world class. There are, in fact, the state of California accepts the BSA youth protection training as their state training for their child protection services. So we have world class youth protection training. And especially in today's environment, it's vital that we have all of our adults youth protection trained. It's a requirement for rechartering. And again, I'd like to stress that that is part of the process. Doesn't cost anything for youth protection training, and it is 100% online. Again, I hope that everything will go smooth for you in the recharter process this year. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your unit commissioner or your district commissioner or myself or your professional scout advisor. So with that, I will turn the meeting over to Mike.
Thanks, Roger. I'm going to be covering some of the new items and the new processes that we are doing for the recharter for everybody this year. If it decides it wants to share, there we go. There are several changes that are major that you'll want to take note of that as Roger was saying. These changes didn't come about just because we wanted to do them. These are a result of you, the unit leaders, sharing your thoughts, ideas, suggestions, us reviewing some processes from other locations, trying to make things better and streamline it for you. You said some ideas, we listened, and we are moving even more paperless to help you out with the process. All of the council codes and the letters that you receive normally in your mailbox, snail mail at your home, are being sent this year electronically. All of those have gone out. All codes for Missouri Valley and Arrowhead District for your unit recharters, those all went out over the last couple of days. Red Rock units, all of yours went out today. So you should have already or be receiving, depending on how your email system is fast or slow, you should have received your email codes for any unit. If you are the Cub Master, the Scout Master, the committee chair of a pack trooper crew, or the charter representative, all three members of what are called the Unit Key 3, they will receive the codes that can be used to log in to do your charters. If you do not receive the codes and you are officially registered as one of those positions, you can't be, okay, I'm going to be the new Cub Master. That doesn't mean you're going to get the codes. If you are one of the Key 3 registered on your unit's roster right now and you did not receive them, you need to follow up with your district commissioner or your district executive on Monday. The new charter processes are now going to be done almost entirely online for everyone. There are some caveats to that. There are a couple of documents that you're still going to need to turn in paper, but if you do your entire charter online, you can get away from having to print it out. Here's what I mean by that. When you log on to do your charter, you review it, you remove any kids and adults that aren't leaders anymore attending. Maybe and hopefully your charter is clean. You didn't have to add any more kids or adults. You move through the process, make sure all the youth protections are updated, get to the end. It tells you how much you owe. If you file all of that electronically, if your charter organization, everybody deals with it electronically, and you pay your fees electronically, you do not have to print that charter packet anymore. Let me repeat that. If you go on to do your charter, you get it all done, and it's all figured out electronically, you do not have to print it. Now, if your charter organization requires that they see it, and there are a few that will, and they want to hand sign it, then you still have to print the paper packet and turn it in that way. But if you can do everything electronically, then you do not have to turn in that portion of the packet in paper form anymore. That should save you a lot of time. Now, there are two key items specifically that every unit is still going to have to deal with in paper form. One is the charter agreement document. That is a legal document that we deal with between the council and the charter organization. So that still has to be hand signed. Now you can get it signed and scan it and email it to us and get the signature page to us later, and we can do that, but we still have to have that hand signed document. You also have to deal with a paper form on your journey to excellence for whatever level of your unit you are, pack, troop, or crew. So really, you can get away with 2 pieces of paper if your unit is able to deal with everything electronically. It's a virtual electronic charter process this year for you. This is big. This is different. I want to make sure and say this again multiple times. If you're able to deal with the primary charter online, electronically, electronic signatures, fee payment, and everything, it will not need to be printed. That's going to be big, and we hope that that's going to be a help for you. Now, as you're processing your charter, every single year, there's some big issue. Last year, it was all those new background check forms. Everybody had to have a new background check form. Well, as Roger mentioned this year, youth protection certifications are the #1 issue that every unit in America is going to face, because over 80% of all volunteers nationwide took their youth protection 2 years ago, and it's now expiring. You got to get those done. I can't stress enough. Have your leaders log on now before you ever start your recharter. Get their youth protection done, get it into the system so that it's already there when you do your charter. Take care of that up front, and you don't have to battle it at the end. The other big thing that we always see is getting applications in before you start your charter. Just today in Red Rock, we communicated with over 20 units that we know have applications or need to turn in applications for scouts that are not yet registered in their unit. And we know that there are scouts in Arrowhead District and Missouri Valley District as well in the same situation. If you get those in before you start your charter, and our registrar can get those processed, it solves half your problem. When you log on to do your charter, all of those scouts and any new adults that you need to do paperwork for will already be there. You don't want to have to sit and type all of that stuff up, because you still have to provide us the documents. You don't get to not turn in an application when you manually enter a scout or an adult leader. You still have to deal with all that paperwork. So if you get it done ahead of time before you start, it makes it that much smoother to go. Journey to Excellence. National Boy Scouts of America has had all these things going on, and they've been battling the COVID-19 situation just like the rest of us. But they also have made a number of changes to the Journey to Excellence process for all of our units. The scorecards for the Journey to Excellence, the website is on your screen. They've updated and altered some of the requirements for the Journey to Excellence so that it makes it a little bit easier for you, the unit leaders, to accomplish and achieve the goals. I used the Cub Scout one here just as an example. It's not meant to be for you to read it. It's very small text, I know. But what I want you to see is all of the red text, both on the left-hand side, which is on the front side of a Journey to Excellence form for Cub leaders. And then on the right-hand side, there's some explanations and definitions of the changes. All of the red items are changes for the Journey to Excellence process for in this case, the Cub Scout packs. The Boy Scout troops and Venture Crew sheets look like this too. There's a lot of changes to include things like virtual camping. There were several events over the last 3 to 4 months where there were national events where if you logged on and were camping in your living room, that kind of thing, and did some of the activities, those count within the troop guidelines and pack guidelines for camping. And those things will help you when you're looking at your Journey to Excellence scores. Okay. We want everybody to know that things are being adjusted. The turn in and due dates. Each of the districts has a scheduled turn in date that you will find on your district calendars. I believe that each of the districts is utilizing their roundtable dates. Some have additional dates that they are also doing. Watch for the emails and the notifications specifically for your district. Each one can be different. But if you do things electronically, you do not even have to go to a turn-in process. You can just email the Journey to Excellence and the charter organization agreement document to your district commissioner and your district executive. And if everything else was online, you're done. So speeding up your process, saving you drive time, all those kinds of things is how we wanted to make sure this is going to work for you. All right. So make sure that we're following through this. How to fix our issues before doing the charter. Unit Key 3s should review your roster, make sure that you're not missing anybody, communicate with your district commissioner, your unit commissioner, and district executives to do a roster review together if you would like to do that. We encourage that. That's what the commissioner's team is there for. Work together, make sure everything is there. Double check your youth protections. All of the Key 3 members in a unit can log into their My.Scouting accounts, and they can see the entire roster, and they can also see everyone's youth protection dates. So if you use that information, you can get those things done early and fix them before you start your charters. When you do a review with a unit commissioner or a professional, you could get your Journey to Excellence form signed right then if they happen to come meet with you face to face. Get a 2-for-1 done and speed up your own process. If you find that you have some missing scouts or an adult that I'm missing a den leader, oh, I've got a new assistant scoutmaster, get those applications in, get them processed now before you start the online process. All right. Roger has been following our Q&As. Is there any particular questions that I need to address, Roger, or have you been able to address them on the backside?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
I do have, there's one on here.
Okay.
So one of the questions I didn't answer yet, is there a way to remove adults or scouts who have quit to clean up Recharter prior to the Recharter process?
It doesn't happen prior to the recharter process. You will be able to do that. That's the easy part. Taking somebody off your charter when you're doing your online recharter is the easy part. Adding them is the problem. When you go into your charter, and Steve will go through that when he goes through the tutorial here in just a few minutes. You just click on some boxes and you move. When you save that page, it removes those people from your charter. But we do not remove them prior to that process. No. All right, well, that looks like that might be all the key questions for right now. We will keep watching the Q&As. Roger,
Just one more.
oh, there's one more, excuse me.
Can my new Cub Master fill out an adult application online? It just popped up.
Oh, that's a very good question. There's kind of two pieces to that. What I would tell you is if your new Cub Master is already in your unit and they're a leader, you can make the change during the recharter process. However, if they were totally brand new, if I'm moving into the area or just joining the unit and I'm going to be the new Cub Master, no, you cannot do an online application for adults. The process doesn't work right. You can try it, but the system doesn't tend to work right yet for the adults. We do not recommend it. You should do a paper application and get that turned in for us.
Another one also just popped up, Mike, which is our service hours automatically entered on Good Turn for America when you enter them in Scout Book or Internet Advancement?
To my knowledge, no, there is no direct connection yet to the Good Turn for America process. You still need to go into the Journey to Excellence page on the National Boy Scouts of America website, click on the Good Turn for America link, and log into that piece of the system to log your service hours there. That's a very good question. We're hearing that they're planning to make those adjustments and connect those, but it has not been done yet to our knowledge. That's a great question.
Looks like all our questions, Mike.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to run through the updated internet rechartering PowerPoint. Get this up to share. All right. So like Mike was talking about, there's a couple of things that you need to have prior to starting your recharter. You need your codes sent to the Key 3 by email. You need to know if any of your adults are multiple registered. That means, are they in a pack and a troop, or are they in a pack and on the district level, or if they're in 2 packs or what have you. You need to know that information because we do not want adults to be paying twice or 3 times. They only have to pay once. You need to be updated with your leader youth protection training. You want to get with your unit leaders and den leaders, scout masters, community members. Everybody needs to have their unit protection updated. You can look on that. If you don't talk to the adults, you can go to your my.scouting account if you're a Key 3 member, and you can pull it up on your unit page. And also you need to know if you have any scouts that you weren't able to register prior to your recharter, or if you have any scouts dropping during the recharter. There we go. All right, so the biggest thing is you're always going to be a new user, no matter how many times you've done this in the past. Every year, everybody is a new user. So you want to go under register on the left-hand side, first time user. Okay, before you register, there are a lot of presentations and frequently asked questions that you can look at. After you've completed registration of your account, there's also a help and a brief interactive tutorial that will take you through the renewal process. Login page. All right, this is where you're going to put in your code that you get from Sioux Council. And when you put your unit number in, it's important that you put in the 4-digit unit number. For example, my unit is 134, so it would be 0134. And usage is monitored, and your council is aware of each unit renewal registered for online access. All right, so in order to continue at this point, you must agree to the confidentiality statement. And then they're going to want you to set up a new password. The unit processor, typically a member of the key 3, the committee chair, cub master, or scout master, enters their information and sets a password. Okay. Now the stages to internet rechartering appear on this screen. You will process through the stages until you have successfully entered all the information and all the BSA requirements have been met. There is a check at the end prior to submitting this, so you know everything is correct. The load roster page. Here you have the option of loading the roster from what is on record with your council, or you may load the roster information from another tool your unit may be using, such as Packmaster or Troopmaster. I genuinely recommend loading it from the council, because everyone should have their applications in prior to that, so that should be completely updated. Stage 2 is where you will update the information on your roster. There are several steps to updating the roster. Select next when you're ready to begin. At any time, if you wish to stop, select the little gear up in the corner and log out. All the changes you have will be saved and will be available the next time you log in. All right, step 1. You're going to want to enter the information relevant to the charter organization, the address, city, and zip. You want to notice the review print roster button on the right-hand side. And when you're done, select next step. Step 2, simply follow the instructions on the page for selecting and deselecting members for renewal. This is where you're going to be able to drop adults and youth simply by unchecking them. It's important to refresh your roster if your unit has accepted a youth or adult through the online registration system, or if your unit has submitted any paper applications to the council that are not showing in your roster. The blue button on the right-hand side. After deselecting members from the previous screen, only the members in your unit will show here. You may have to correct any incorrect information. Select previous check records to be retained. All right, so that brings us to the draft version. This is a draft report. This is not used for charter renewal, but it gives you a look at the fees. All right, step 3, promote members. This is generally if you have youth members in a troop that are moving up to adult leaders, you would promote them at this point. Other than that, this isn't really used. And again, following instructions, promoting members in your unit from another unit. Okay. You will need the access codes for units in which you are not a member. All right. Now, if you are unable to get new members put in through the council by turning in your application prior, this is the spot where you would add a new member. Okay. The first one is the new adult. It's fairly simple. Just take the information from the application, first, middle, last name, their primary position, and their address. Okay. You will not be asked to enter the social security number. And also, this is where you will need the youth protection completion date for the adult, if necessary. Step 4, add a new youth member. Again, if you weren't able to turn in your youth applications in on time before you had to start this process, you can put the new youth information from your application. First, middle, last, address, and then update member data. Okay, here you have the opportunity to update information on your members. Shown inset left is youth protection data and the new entry for read-only CBC authorization. That's the extra background check form that we all had to fill out last year. You're going to update member position, and you'll be able to see if you have the required minimum unit adult positions for your unit type. Typically, that's an executive officer or institution head, a Cub Master or Scout Master, a charter organization rep, committee chair, and either a certain amount of den leaders and committee members, or just committee members, depending on your unit type. All right, so once you have made all your changes, you select check a roster, and your roster will be validated against the BSA unit requirements, including youth protection requirements of the members. If there are any errors, and they are indicated on this page, warnings are not the same as errors. Errors must be resolved. Warnings are informational. After selecting the member in error, you'll be able to make changes to correct the error. The unit processor will be able to modify youth protection dates, but this must not be done without proper documentation. Still updating the member from check roster link, changing the address. And then this shows all errors have been resolved. And if you look on the roster review on the right-hand corner, we're going to renew 11 adults, 11 youth, and we're adding 1 adult and 0 youth. And then under the summary, it just shows that your roster has been completed and validated. You may now review the final roster and fees. Okay. All right, so the left little box there is where you make changes to fees. This is where you need to know who's going to be a multiple unit person. For an adult or youth to be multiple, they must have a paid registration fee in another unit or non-unit position. For example, for the girl troops, a lot of them are using a shared or a linked committee from the boy troop they're associated with, and those committee members will be multiples. Now they can either pay on the girl troop side, or they can pay on the boy troop side, but you need to know ahead of time which unit there's going to be in primarily as their paid membership, so the other unit can set the fees or to make them a multiple if they're being paid for in your recharter. And verify Boys Life. By clicking the Boys Life button on the previous page, you will see what you need to qualify to be a 100% Boys Life unit. Now, you have to remember that Boys Life is a $12 per scout, or yeah, $12 per scout per year. Additional charge over the $66 for rechartering, and make sure that you collect those fees from your scouts prior to submitting your payment. Now you're going to approve your roster. To sign your roster electronically, you want to select the "We agree." If you are not signing it electronically, select "Do not agree," and then hit next. Now on your payment methods, if you're paying by a credit card, there is a 3% administrative fee. If you're paying by cash or check, you click the center with no fee, or you can do an e-check where you enter your unit check information, and again, that is no fee. If you selected payment by credit card, this is the confirmation you should receive if your payment was successful. If you selected pay direct to the council, it'll just simply say, please submit your check to the Sioux Council office. If you're selecting by e-check, you're going to put in all your check information, account type, routing number, account number, the bank's name, the account holder address, and then hit complete, and that'll be accepted. If you're paying by the unit account here at the Scout office, you have the option of clicking that little box there on the top, and it'll come out of your account up here at Sioux Council. When you're satisfied that your roster is complete, click on Submit to Council, and there's a little warning. Your renewal has been accepted and no additional changes can be made. Do you wish to submit? Yes. Or okay. And then you get a little survey that you have the opportunity to take at the end. And, nope, went too fast. You can print your application if you'd like. At this point, this is what the completed renewal application looks like, along with the fees. And that's it. Are there any questions? All right. Membership cards. Membership cards can be printed from your My.Scouting account if you're a Key 3 member, along with the paper copy of the charter after it's been completed. No, the council no longer sends those. Now, for the webinar that is on Monday, I will be rechartering my girl troop out of Worthington live, and I'll be going through all these steps again. And I will be taking unit members off. We have multiples and everything else that we talked about.
Okay, we've got a couple of other questions that had popped in and I wrote down. There's one up here right now. It says, do you have to complete everything at once or can you start and stop and come back later? You do not have to do it all at once. You can log in, you start the process and maybe, you know, the supper bell goes off or the dog goes crazy, whatever it may be. You just log out and you will have created a login process for yourself, a new password and things. When you first logged in, you create that for yourself. And then you can come in and out of it as many times as you need to until you get to the end. When you can change things, update things, all the way up to the point until you hit that submit to council button. Once you hit that submit to council button, it's done. It's over and it's gone. But up until that point, you can make as many changes, updates, fixes as you need to. That's a great question. And sometimes you can't get it all done at once, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Just to talk about that, in the upper right hand corner, when you're going through the recharter process, there's a little gear. That's where you select if you need to log out. You log out using that, and then when you log back in, everything will be right where you left it.
He's talked about the multiples. That's very important. We want to stress that one again. If you have a leader that's in more than one unit, you don't want them to have to pay. You don't want to pay for them more than once. It costs enough to be in scouting anyway. There's no reason to pay more than once. So make sure that if a leader is going to be in more than one unit, that you figure out which unit they're going to pay in so that the other unit can list them as a multiple paid in the other unit. The other item that we wanted to mention real quick is those background check forms. We had most of them got done last year, those CBCs, background checks. There are still a handful of volunteers that kind of got grandfathered in at the end of last year. The national office decided they didn't want to hold up charters anymore. Your district executives and your district commissioners and unit commissioners will be following up with unit leaders that still have some of their volunteers that are not completed their background check form. They're going to get those emailed to the unit leader. They're trying to email them to actually to that volunteer as well, to have them fill it out, sign it, and just email it back. That works just fine for those background check forms. But just be watching for that. If you're not sure, double check with your commissioner or your district executive in your district to make doubly sure that you have all of your background checks for your leaders done. Again, there's only a handful of them across each of the districts. It's not like we have 100 of these or something, but they could be a problem for you because that form is going to hold things up if they aren't done. Make sure here. It looks like we have another question. Troop 5 will have a new Scoutmaster, committee chair, and treasurer, which is a committee member. I'm the new committee chair. Those applications are in the works and are being filled out. Will we need to recharter on paper? Similar question to the new Cubmaster question earlier. If you're already in the unit and you're changing your leadership position, you can do leadership changes on the charter. Basically, that's like doing a paper app because the approval by the charter organization is happening. If it's a brand new person that's going to be the Scoutmaster or the committee chair, if you're brand new, then we've got to have the paper application no matter what. We still have to have that. So it's if you're brand new, you want to get those turned in now, so that we can get them processed for you, solve all those issues. And then any other person you could take care of and just reassign their leadership position inside as you do the charter process. Good question. Oh, very good. Okay, very good. We looks like we've pretty much answered all of the questions that are listed out here. Are there any final questions or concerns, thought processes?
The one on 3 days at Scout Camp.
I typed it in. We had one other question earlier. I typed an answer to a leader, but we'll share it with you as well. We had a leader ask about going to summer camp. Obviously, that's not directly connected to the charter, but the answer is based on how many days or hours an adult is going to be out at Lewis and Clark. If you have a leader that's going to be, or a parent that's going to be at camp 72 hours or more, then they have to be registered with the BSA. That is policy. If they're not going to be there for 72 hours, they're going to be there for a couple of days filling in or something, then they do not have to fill out an application, but they do have to have their physicals and they do have to do youth protection. But the 72-hour guideline is the trigger for needing an adult application if you're going to be out at Lewis and Clark. Roger, do you have any final comments?
No, I don't, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for all the questions. They were some excellent questions tonight. And thank you all for your participation in the scouting program. It's the best youth organization in the world. So thanks for your support, and I look forward to meeting more of you in the future.
Thank you to each of you. And with this, since there's no additional questions, this will close our webinar session for rechartering for tonight. Thank you for attending.